Hey everyone, hope you all are doing really well. In this particular session, we are going to take one essay question from the CMA US Part 2 and solve it here. So if you are an aspirant student of the CMA US going to give your examination in the nearby time, either in February or in the next window, May, June, make sure that you watch this video. And if you're going to give Part 2, then this is going to be really helpful for you. So here I have taken this particular question, if you just see it in front of you. This particular question is from section E, investment decisions of the CMA US Part 2. So if you just see NPV, IRR, this something related to it is the question. So I assume if you're watching this, you should be having some basics of understanding what NPV, what IRR is, what is cost of capital, because then only this will be really easy for you. If not, then it will be a bit tricky, but I would request you guys to follow it up and watch this particular session till the end. At least this will be a good practice for you, or this video will help you come back to your preparation if you have lost somewhere. Okay. So if you see, this is the question, here's the requirement, and I'm going to be writing down this particular answer in a proper manner in this particular Word document. Okay. So let's get back to the question. Whenever we have a question like this, it's always suggested that first get started with the requirements. Read the requirements first to have a proper analysis of it. Or understanding what is the requirements, then go back, read the question, have proper linkage towards the questions then. If you see here, because of volatility in the financial markets, the company's cost of equity may be higher than assumed in this analysis. This is important as Romco is entirely equity financed. So this is one point to be noted, that it's all equity financed. Then the first question here is, what cost of equity was used in this analysis? Explain your answer. Would an increase in cost of equity affect NPV and IRR for the projects? And thus the desirability of undertaking the projects? Explain your answer. Okay, I guess here's an explanation. Here's an explanation. I don't think so. There's more calculations to this. Okay, the next one. There is a possibility that the corporate income tax rate may be lowered in the near future. If this were to occur, how would this affect the NPV and IRR of the projects and the desirability of investing in the projects? Okay, so understanding that the corporate income tax is going to be lowered, what impact would it make to the NPV and IRR? Then, what is the payback period for each project? Show your calculations. Identify and explain 3 weaknesses of using payback period to decide on doing these projects. Is there anything else? No. Now, if you just see here, this particular question, identify and explain 3 weaknesses of using payback period. This is just a general question. This is not at all related to anything for that particular content if you just see here. And then calculating this payback period, this is a calculative question out of all those. Now let's read the proper question from start. Now, Alex Conrad, financial analyst for Romco. So I guess so you should be in the footsteps of Alex Conrad, who is a financial analyst of this organization, is presenting 2 mutually exclusive capital budgeting project proposals to the team, to the management team. Now, whenever we hear this, mutually exclusive project means there are 2 projects in hand. Now, mutually exclusive means that if you choose one project, you cannot do the next one. Or if you choose the next project, you cannot do the other one. So out of the 2, you have to choose only one. So in most scenarios, in a capital, in an investment decision platform, if you're going to take decisions, you will be having 2 options, I guess. Here's project 1 and project 2. And these are 2 mutually exclusive projects. We need to find out which one can be the best for this organization. As simple as that. Okay. The preliminary results for the net present value and internal rate of return analysis of 2 projects being discussed are as follows. So here are the 2 projects, and the project 1, project 2. Here are the basic initial investments. Their NPV is already calculated. Their IRR is also already calculated. So we do not need to calculate their NPV or IRR. Basically, we have to make decisions on it. Fine. if you just see here NPV is 0. That's what I'm saying, that if you guys have basic understanding of investment decisions, you would have already understood that when NPV is equals to 0, whatever the cost of capital is, that is your IRR. When NPV is equal to 0, your cost of capital is equal to your IRR. That's internal rate of return. Fine. Project 1 is expected to have positive after cash flows of 200,000 per year for 6 years after the initial investment. And project 2 is expected to have a positive after tax cash flow of 85,000 for 6 years after initial investment. During the meeting, Conrad was asked to explain several issues related to his analysis. So here are our questions related to it. Because of volatility in the financial markets, the company's equity can be higher and assumed in this analytics. The first question is, what cost of equity was used in this analysis? So understand this. Let us just understand that on what basis we choose NPV and what basis we choose IRR. Okay. So let's just be a bit general. I'm not going into the question. I'm just showing that what is a decision-making process in here. When you take into consideration NPV, okay, when you take into consideration NPV of a project for to invest in a project or not to invest in a project, you would see if the NPV is positive. Okay. If the NPV is positive, you will invest in that project. If the NPV is negative, you will not invest in that project. As simple as that. So if you just see here it is 0. So what will you do based on NPV of this particular project? You will not go with project 1. You'll go either with project 2 because that NPV is positive. Now that's related with NPV. Now coming up towards IRR. IRR is your internal rate of return. Your internal rate of return should be more than your cost of capital. Now, your internal rate of return should be more than your cost of capital. Understand this with a basic example. Suppose you are going to take a loan of 1 million from a bank, and the interest rate of that particular loan is 12%. So you are getting in this particular capital. This is your capital which you are getting. The cost of getting this capital is 12%. So your cost is 12%. Now, this to be more profitable, you should invest this 1 million into a project which will give you more than 12%. Maybe it is 13, maybe it is 14. A project which is giving you a return of 13%, 14%, 15%, or more than 12% is a desirable project to invest in. So basically, your rate of return should be more than your cost of capital. So your internal rate of return should be more than your cost of capital to be invested. I hope that this particular explanation gives you more clarity on basis of how do you accept through NPV, or how do you accept a project through IRR. And in most cases where NPV and IRR is in a conflict, then NPV will prevail in there. So now let us deep dive into the particular question specific towards this particular question. Now, here, after just rubbing this all off, what cost of equity, okay? What cost of equity was used in this analytics? Now, if you just see here, there is one important line here. This is important as Romco is entirely equity financed. It means there is no other source of capital. So here, when we see also, one more thing for you to understand. When your NPV is 0, it means that your IRR is equal to your cost of capital. Now, cost of capital is KO. It is denoted by KO. But here, your capital is completely equity. Now, when your cost of capital is completely equity, so this can become your cost of equity. This will become your cost of equity, KE. So this 12%, which is your IRR, is equal to cost of equity, and cost of equity is 12%. And that's understood. Now, if you just see here, what can we write down for this answer? What cost of equity was used in this analysis? We can write down the cost of equity used in this analysis is 12%. So let us just frame this particular answer here. Now here we are going to write it. The cost of equity used in this analysis is 12%. Now here we have to give an explanation that why this is 12%, because that's what is the question here. See, if there was a question that what cost of equity was used in the analysis, the answer was done. But here is explain your answer. Now we have to explain this answer stating that let me just put it down in another paragraph. The IRR of project, I hope everybody is able to have a look at it. The IRR of project 1 is 12% and the NPV is 0. Then the cost of capital is also 12%. Now, why it is 12%? Because I'm just framing it here. Because when NPV is equal to 0, it is understood that the cost of capital and IRR are the same. Okay, here it is because these two are same. And this is completely, okay, let me just frame it much better. What is the organization's name? Organization name is Romco. Romco. Okay. This is to be noted that Romco is completely financed by equity. The cost of capital is 12%. The same would be the cost of equity. That is 12% for both the projects. Now, when you are going to get this particular fund from wherever place it is going to be 12%. And once it is found out, it is understood, and also to be understanding that these two are mutually exclusive projects. You are going to invest in either of the one, not both. Okay, so let me just make it A. Fine. Now, let us see the B point of this particular question. Would an increase in cost of equity affect NPV and IRR of the projects and thus the desirability of undertaking the projects? Would an increase in cost of equity? Now, cost of equity here, what will happen? Cost of equity is increasing, means your cash flow will go down. So let me just write down. If there is an increase in cost of equity, it will lower the cash flows. And if it is lowering the cash flows, then the NPV of project 1 will be lower. As seen, the NPV is already 0. It will further become negative and thus rejected. The same goes with the other project 2. The NPV will go down. But if suppose it is going to be positive, then it is fine. But if it is going more further down, then it is going to be negative. So that's with the project 2. Now I'm not writing that down. You guys can go ahead and write it. Now let's talk about IRR. What will happen to the IRR if the cost of equity, is lowered? Sorry, if the cost of equity is increased. Okay. So if the cost of equity is increasing, as I've said you earlier, suppose your cost of equity is maybe 14% is your cost of equity, and your IRR, your IRR is 12%. Now, when your IRR is 12% and cost of equity is 12%, sorry, your cost of equity is 14% because it has increased, and your IRR is 12%, this will make the project be rejected. That is also to be written again. So if the cost of equity is increasing, then the project will be rejected because the cost of equity is more than the IRR. I hope you guys are there understanding with me. You guys need to write that down. And with project 2, okay, let me just complete it for you guys for now. Let me write the complete answer. So till now, what did I write? If there is an increase in cost of equity, it will lower the cash flows. And if it is lowering cash flows, the NPV of project 1 will be lower. As seen, the NPV is already 0. It will further become negative and thus rejected. While with project 2, the NPV will be reduced, but still it will be positive. Now here, okay, here is a typo. If it is positive, it will be accepted, or if it further decreases and makes the NPV negative, then the project will be rejected. That is with project 2. Now let's talk about IRR. Okay. IRR should be more than cost of capital for the project to be accepted. In this case, if the cost of, now understand this, cost of equity is cost of capital here. In this case, if the cost of equity is increased, then for project 1, it will be not acceptable, as it will be more than the IRR, which is 12%. See, what is he saying? From this particular cost of equity, which is already 12%, he's going to increase it. Increase it more than that. Now, when it is going to be increased, it's not going to be acceptable. While with project 2, we need further more info as the IRR. How much is the IRR here? IRR here is, as the IRR is 17.65%. If the increase is more than 17.65%, then the project will be rejected, or else if it is going to be less than this particular amount, okay, the cost of capital is going to be less than, the cost of equity is going to be less than 17.65, or else the cost of, or else it will be accepted. I hope everybody is able to follow up with me. Now, these are two questions which we just completed. What two questions? These two questions, this A and this B, we are done. Now let's talk about this particular option, question number 2. Okay, let me just erase this off. Now this question number 2, there is a possibility that corporate income tax rate may be lowered in the near future. If this were to occur, how would this affect the NPV and IRR of the project and the desirability of the projects? Once again, he's asking us. Now, what I can do here is, it is almost equivalent to the same answer which I have given here. Okay, the same, if I just copy this or paste it and then do changes in it, I can do that. But for you guys, let me just type down this particular answer. Okay, let me just type it down. So if you just see here, corporate income tax rate may be lowered in the near future. So if the corporate income tax rate is lowered in the near future, this will increase the annual cash inflow. If the annual cash inflows are increased, then NPV of project 1 will be positive and project 2 will have a greater NPV. And the same, okay, and the same effect will be on IRR as the cash flows are increasing. So the desirability of the project will be more, because see, income tax rate is lowered, automatically your cash inflow will be increased. Now, when the cash inflows are increased, much better for the organizations. Okay, for this approval. So it makes both the projects desirable. Okay. This option is also fine. This answer is also done. Now, let us see this one. This one is complete. Okay, done and dusted. Now, in here, what is the payback period for each project? Show your calculations. Now, if you just see here, what is this investment? Project 1 is expected to have a positive net cash outflow of 200,000 per year for 6 years. Fine. It's going to have 200,000 for 6 years. And how much is this particular investment? 822, 800. So it's going to be 822. How much is that amount? 822, 800 divided by, what is the cash inflow, divided by 200,000. Let me just put it on calculator. 822, 800 divided by 200,000 equals to 4.114. So I'm just keeping it 4.1 here. Okay. This is for project 1. Now, if suppose if it is for project 2, how much is the amount? 300,000 is the initial investment, and the cash flows are 85,000. Cash flows are 85,000. Let me just take it. 300,000 divided by 85,000. Now this equals to how much? 300,000 divided by 85,000 equals to 3.5. Okay. 3.5 years. Now, if you just see here, he's asking us just payback period. He's not asking us discounted payback period. So don't do your discounted payback period. He's asking us payback period. Simply just do payback period. So, in fact, these are my answers. This is for project 2. Okay. I can go towards more accuracy by converting those years into proper amounts, proper years. But after all, it's going to be 4 years and some amount. This is going to be 3 years and some months. I can have proper understanding of it. I'm not specifying it with months. Okay, I'm not specifying it months. With years only, I'm having this particular answer. So you guys can also answer it like this. Here we are done with this 3.A. Now we have to go with question number B, which is asking us, identify and explain 3 weaknesses of using payback period to decide on doing these projects. So first of all, payback period. Okay. Let me just put it down like this. Payback period does not consider time value of money. So that's why it can be not accurate. Second one, payback period cannot be accurate as it is more of an overview. In fact, ये cash flows जो है कितने सही है, how right are these cash flows? We don't know. Okay. And number 3, payback period does not show calculations after the completion of payback. Matlab, he is getting the money which is invested. After that, what's going to happen with that particular cash flows? He's not having a proper explanation to it. So payback period does not show calculations after the completion of payback. So this can be the answer. So if you just see here, let me just zoom out. We just answered the essay question, like option number 1, 2, A, B, second, third one, A, B. Really good answer, right? I hope that Yeah, this question is done. There's another question for it next. Next question. If you guys want me to do another essay question, I would do it. If you want to join into my classes, my recorded classes, where you'll go through all the explainer and then these questions are solved, that also you can join it. I'll put down the link below, or I'll put down my WhatsApp number below. You guys can reach me out through WhatsApp, or if you want to join into some one-to-one sessions, live one-to-one problem solving, uh, that also is possible. That also is available for a charge. You guys can reach out to me over WhatsApp, ask for it, and I'll be available for it. आप लोग के पास अगर कोई डाउट्स है तो भी आप मुझे रीच आउट कर सकते हैं व्हाट्सएप पे. बेस्ड ऑन अवेलेबिलिटी वी कैन अरेंज अ सेशन, एंड दैट सेशन विल बी चार्जेबल इफ देयर इज अ डाउट सॉल्विंग सेशन. आपको पर्सनली मेरे क्लासेस में आप एनरोल नहीं है और डाउट सॉल्विंग सेशन चाहिए तो फिर वो चार्जेबल रहेगा. इफ यू आर ऑलरेडी एनरोल्ड इनटू माय सेशंस, देन go ahead, reach out to me or WhatsApp, whatever doubts you have. On a regular basis, daily basis, I keep solving doubts of students. So अगर आप लोग के पास ऐसे कुछ doubts है तो reach out करिए मुझे. I'll be happy to solve it. So thank you very much for watching. If you guys have watched it till here, make sure that you like this video, share this video with the CMA US student so that उसके लिए भी ये helpful हो जाए. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video, next session.